Lance. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm pretty good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I just wanted to take a little bit of time at the beginning of our meeting here today and ask if you had any questions about what we discussed last time about the informed consent and the legal obligations that I have towards our practice together.
No.
No over concerns over anything?
No, just nope.
Okay. So today we're going to be doing a little bit of orienting ourselves and kind of getting to know each other. I'll probably do a lot more talking than normal, so just bear with me. I want to get to know about your situation and kind of your history and background. So I guess if you want to start by telling me a little bit about what brought you here today.
Um, well, I am needing kind of some assistance with some stuff going on in my life lately. I'm kind of facing eviction from my house. I live in St. Joe, Missouri, and so I'm kind of behind on my bills and whatnot. And so it's just me and my son. So really, I just came in today to see what can be done for me to kind of help out my current housing circumstance.
Okay, yeah. Kind of sounds like you're having a difficult time right now, but we could definitely find some resources to help you out. Um, I just kind of want to go through an assessment with you today, and it'll kind of hit on a couple different points. One of the first ones is how you were referred to the agency.
Well, I was talking with um, some friends or whatever, and they mentioned that I should try to seek some services. So I kind of just walked in and asked if you guys could do anything for me today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we could definitely help you out as best as we can possible. And like I said last time, if we're unable to help you here, we will connect you to resources outside of the clinic. We're just going to go over some general information about yourself now. How old are you, and where you're living, that type of thing.
So I'm 33 years old. I was born 4/17, 1984. Like I said, I'm currently living in St. Joseph, Missouri, down on First Street. I've lived there for going on almost a year now, and I don't have any internet or anything at the house, but I do have a little prepaid cell phone that people kind of call and reach me at. So,
Okay. So would you say what's the best way to get a hold of you if we need to get a hold of you?
probably just my phone number. Just give me a call, and whenever I can, I'll answer back.
Okay, perfect. That's good to know. Now we're going to talk a little bit about your family relationships as far as your parents. Maybe we'll start there.
Yeah. Uh, my parents, my dad's actually deceased. He died in 2001. My mom is still alive though, and I don't really talk to her that much. Just kind of hit or miss, maybe around the holidays or something. She actually lives in Omaha, Nebraska, and so it's kind of a far distance from St. Joseph, Missouri.
Yeah, that could be difficult, I'm sure, trying to connect with her, And as you said, you said you have a cell phone, but it has limited minutes, so.
Yeah, it's one of those prepaid things. It's kind of crappy, and it doesn't. Um, it's kind of expensive to keep up with if I have long conversations.
Right, yeah. So it can be difficult to, stay in connection with her. Would you say that you've had a strong relationship with her in the past, or?
Um, well, that's kind of a hit or miss question depending on the day, really.
Okay.
Growing up was kind of difficult. I didn't really get along with my dad that much. So I did kind of bond with my mom a little bit more just because my dad was so kind of, uh, I guess the term would be kind of like aggressive. He was just kind of very loud and kind of it was either his way or no way kind of thing. So growing up, I did kind of bond with my mom more closely than my dad. But like as I said, since she lives so far away, it's been kind of difficult to really reestablish that family relationship kind of dialect that we had. I do touch base with her here and there, but um, other than that, I mean, I wish I could see her more, talk to her more, but really, I mean, it's just the kind of I'm limited by my ability to do that.
Right, yeah, that could definitely become difficult. But As far as do you have any siblings? Are you an only child?
Well, I actually do have a sister. I have one sister, and that's it. She's a little bit older. I think she's about like 38 right now, 38 years old. She also lives in Omaha, Nebraska, with her husband. They actually got married a few years ago. Because I'm actually from Omaha, Nebraska. All my family's there, and so everyone else has kind of decided to stay in the area. So like with my mom, I don't really talk to her that often. Probably less than my mom, just because me and my sister, we don't really have much in common. She decided to go to school afterwards and stuff, for her degree and all that stuff. And so we're kind of on different levels as far as like really how much we communicate. We just don't see eye to eye a lot. So I'd say that we don't have that strong of a relationship. Really.
Okay. Um, so you said that most of your family lives in Omaha, and that's where you're from. What made you decide to move to St. Joe?
Oh, well, actually, it was my girlfriend Christine. We decided to kind of elope because her family is also from Omaha, because that's where we both live. We kind of knew each other growing up in high school and whatnot. We didn't really talk that much until after high school. We kind of bonded and whatnot. And so we decided to just kind of get away from our families because we felt like they had too much input um, into our lives, and they're always kind of butting their way in and kind of stuff. And so we decided to kind of take off to St. Joseph. At that point, we also, um, that was around the same time that we found out that she was pregnant with my son, Luke. So it was kind of just kind of a crazy thing going on at that time. But really, so yeah, we were trying to get away from family was our initial reasoning behind that.
Oh, okay. So you said that you eloped. How are you guys still married or?
Well, we were never married. We were just dating each other, and then actually, she actually left our household not too far back. I think it might have been like a year or two ago. I think it was about 2 years ago. She left me and Lance back in St. Joe, and she went back to Omaha, Nebraska. Toward the end of our relationship, we were really arguing quite a bit, fighting constantly. We just weren't getting along. I thought her interests weren't where they should have been as far as with me and my son. So um, one day I got home with my son after going out shopping for some groceries and stuff, and there was a note, and she took off back to Omaha, saying that she just needs to get away from the pressure of being responsible for a child and whatnot. So she went back home to move with her parents back in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay. Sounds like you got a lot going on. Would you say that you have any really strong connections with anyone, such as like a support system that you kind of lean on when things get hard?
Not really. I mean, like I said, when Christine was in the picture, we were kind of each other's support system. But since she's left, it's not really been. We haven't really spoken really at all. My mom, like I said, would have been an option, but we don't really speak that much either, just because she wasn't very happy with the way things happened with me and Christine eloping, and so that's another reason why we don't talk that much. So really, it's kind of just me and my son Luke. At one point, I was working at a place that I met a couple buddies, and that was kind of we would hang out on Friday night or whatever while Luke was with a babysitter and kind of just kind of have that social time. But now, so with everything going on in the last year or so, I've kind of not really been involved with any other friends and stuff. So really, it's just kind of me and Luke at this time.
Okay. Yeah, it's really important to focus on, your child and make sure that they have what they need. I can understand that. So would you say that you feel isolated from a
Um,
social support system?
well, I don't know if isolated is the right. Well, yeah, I would say isolated just in the fact that, uh, yeah, there's really not that many people to reach out to if I needed to, and like there's not that many people around in St. Joseph since all my family's back in Omaha. So trying to find like if I ever needed to find like last minute like person that I trusted to watch my kid or something like that's just not possible. And with things going on at the house, like my bills and the eviction that I'm facing right now, there's not really anyone I can talk to about it. So yeah, I would say that I'm kind of isolated from my social support system.
Yeah, that can definitely be difficult, and that's maybe something that we can work on, finding you some support groups and making you feel like you have somebody to talk to. Um, so, would you say that you've really experienced any like critical events that have happened in the past, um, maybe in your childhood, or we did talk briefly about Christine leaving, and of course, I'm sure that was a very crucial time. But was there anything else of importance?
Well, like I said, me and my dad didn't get along very much. He was kind of aggressive. I wouldn't necessarily go out and say abusive, but he was aggressive with me and my sister and my mom growing up as a kid. He was dependent on alcohol. He liked to smoke cigarettes and stuff. So like just growing up in that kind of atmosphere was kind of traumatic in a sense that every day you were kind of just wondering, like everyone was on edge kind of thing. So that was kind of difficult to deal with growing up. And then with Christine leaving, that kind of set an atmosphere in my household that just wasn't very open and warm as much as it should be. Luke is actually um, 5 years old now, and he was 3 when she left. So he's kind of questioning now. He's at that age where he's wondering where his mom is. And so really those are the two most critical events I can really think of, just kind of my childhood, and now I'm seeing that kind of critical stuff going on in my kids' childhood. So those things definitely have an impact on me.
Yeah, that can be pretty difficult to handle, and of course, you want the best for your child, so I can see where that could be upsetting. Um, would you say that in your past you've had any mental health issues or anything like that?
Um, no, I mean, there's times where I do feel down some days and whatnot, but really, as far as being diagnosed, no, I've never been diagnosed with anything.
Okay. Would you say that you've had any thoughts of harm or suicidal thoughts that need to be addressed?
No.
No. Okay. Well, that's good. If you ever do have any of those feelings or thoughts, please feel free to share with me. I would love to help you with that. The next thing we're going to talk about is your sexual history. I know you said that she left, and now it's just kind of you and your son. Would do you Are you
Yeah.
in a relationship now with anyone, or anything like that?
No, since Christine left, there's really not been any serious romantic relationships. Really, it's only been myself and Luke. He's grown up. I don't want him, just to bring just anyone into the household with him. So really, I've kind of kept that just not happening.
Single.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. Has there been any history of any HIV or anything of that nature?
No.
Okay. Now we'll kind of move on to drug and alcohol abuse. I know this is kind of a touchy subject for some people, but have you had any issues with drugs in the past or alcohol abuse in the past?
Yeah, actually had some issues growing up in my early 20s. I have a history of substance abuse. Um, I was on meth in my early 20s, but I did receive treatment for addiction at the age of 25. Around that time, I had gotten into alcohol and kind of marijuana around the age of like 19, 20. And then things kind of just escalated from there from around age 21, 22, somewhere in there is when I started meth. So that went on for about maybe 2 years. I realized I just couldn't live like that anymore. And at that same time, things were happening in my family. Christine was becoming a big part of my life at that point, and my family stuff going on that I haven't really spoken to them much at that time either. And so I did get hooked on meth, but then I did have a inpatient treatment for addiction, and so I'm actually sober as far as right now. I've been sober for since I was 25, so was that 8 years? I don't drink at all anymore, but I do smoke cigarettes. But as far as that goes, nothing else really.
Okay. Would you say that with everything going on that you've been wanting to lean back towards those old tendencies, or do you think that they're no longer an issue?
I mean, maybe once or twice I kind of had a thought, but with my son, I just know I can't do that stuff anymore, and I just can't pick up the pipe anymore. So no, not really. Like maybe once or twice when Christine first left, but I kind of realized what I have at stake now, and I think I've got my head on pretty good.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. So now we'll kind of move on to like your medical history. Did you have any major surgeries? Are you currently on any medications?
No, I've never had any major surgeries, never been in any accidents or anything requiring any kind of surgery. So, I mean, I always think that my health is pretty good, really. Even during my drug usage stage, I really didn't really suffer that many physical problems or anything like that. And no, I'm not on any medications right now.
Okay. Are you allergic to anything or
Not really, nothing that I know of. Maybe seasonal allergies. That's really it.
okay. All right, that's good to know. I know that you had mentioned before that you were having issues with paying your bills and you are facing an eviction. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that and let me know how your financial status is currently?
Well, my financial status right now is kind of questionable. Like I said, am being forced to move out of my house. I'm struggling with my landlord said I had to be out of the house because he was evicting me for not paying my rent. And so I've been trying to find another housing situation that's a little bit more affordable for me, but that's kind of hard because, like I said, my financial status is not the best at this time. Um, Also, uh, me and Luke eat out quite a bit and that kind of stuff just because I don't ever keep food in the house because it's expensive to buy groceries. So a lot of times we go through like the dollar menu and stuff. So I know that isn't the best, but it's cheap. So I'd probably say like 2 out of 3 meals a day is probably pretty much fast food. And I do have transportation though. It's kind of not really reliable, but it does get me around town. And also, that's really about it. Just I do struggle financially.
Okay. So would you say that you're feeling a little unstable at the moment with your housing and that
Yes.
sort of thing? Okay. Have you ever experienced any homelessness or anything of that nature?
Back in my 20s, when I was on meth, I did do a lot of couch surfing. But after I got clean, I got my head on and was able to live independently.
Okay. Do you think that the issues that you're facing now, do you kind of fear maybe going back to that lifestyle, or do you think?
Yeah, it is stressful right now. It's pretty stressful. It's got me worried because it's not just me anymore. It is my son, and we are being facing eviction within the next week. And so I'm really trying to find new housing. Hopefully, still staying in St. Joseph, just because I don't want to have to go back to my family in Omaha. But everything I've tried to look for has not been very price friendly.
Okay, yeah, that can definitely be frustrating, especially when you're living on a fixed budget. I know that's sometimes stressful. So I know that you kind of mentioned that you had some drug abuse issues back in your 20s. Were there any criminal charges or kind of do you have any legal history that I need to be aware of?
No, I was briefly like detained and stuff, but never any charges pressed against me.
Okay. Um, well, that's helpful to know. Uh, as far as education, how did you go to college? Did you just finish high school?
No, I did not go to college. I actually dropped out uh, and did not finish high school. I think that was around the age of like 16 or so. And like I said, that was kind of around the time that I was kind of experimenting with some stuff. And then I was able to go back when I was 19 and get my GED. And then once I had my GED, I decided to try to find a job and not go on to college. And then in the midst of trying to find a job and stuff, I was kind of trying to live my own as a young adult, and that's when I kind of got into the meth and stuff. So college was never really an option for me.
Okay. Um, so what's your current employment status? Maybe give me a little bit of history about where you've worked and what you've done.
I'm unemployed right now. I've had 5 different employers within the last 2 years. My typical line of work is mechanic. I'm an auto mechanic, so I like to work with my hands and stuff and repair vehicles because that's just what I know from growing up. That's what I was always taught to do. Uh, but really, it's never my fault that I get fired. It's just I don't know what happens and I don't understand why. But that's part of the problem I'm in right now. Facing eviction, can't make my bills and utilities and stuff because I don't have a job right now.
Okay. Yeah, that can be frustrating. And it sounds like you've been employed a lot in the past couple years. Is You said you have been a mechanic. Is that something you would say you enjoy and something you like doing?
Yeah, for the most part, I do enjoy it, but at the same time, I know it's going to pay the bills and it's something I'm good at.
Okay, that's good to know. So I know that you've mentioned you've had trouble financially providing. Do you feel like it's impacted your son in any way?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's getting to the age, he's 5 now, so like you kind of can tell there's something kind of going on because he's actually in kindergarten right now, and so he doesn't have like the cool new gadgets all the other kids have, like the shoes and stuff, and like he's still young, so he doesn't really understand it, but at the same time, like he does kind of, it's hard to go through a store or something because he wants something and I can't afford to get it for him. So like, I think he does notice, but at the same time, like, um, it's not as big of a deal as it probably will be later on. So, but I mean, as far as his nutrition and stuff and like how he lives, like I always try to put him first. So he does have really all his needs met and stuff. But like I said, we do eat a lot of fast food, and that's one thing that I would like to probably change.
Okay, that could definitely be something we work on. I know it can be a little frustrating with the way that comparing kids compare, in school. That could probably cause some issues at home. Um, well, we're going to move on to the impact of diversity. Do you feel as though your community is pretty diverse? Do you feel like an outcast in society, or?
Well, St. Joe, there's always a mix of people there, so I do feel like it's somewhat diverse. I mean, Omaha is a little bit bigger, I believe, so like there's more diversity there. But I do get along with everyone. I don't have any kind of prejudice or anything. I'm a working class man, so like as long as you're willing to work hard for what you do, I feel like it should be fair game for everyone. Um, I don't. I mean, I feel like a little bit of an outcast just because of like my past histories and stuff. I'm not. I don't have financial security really, and I'm down meth and stuff. So I feel like that kind of does kind of give me an outcast. But other than that,
Okay, that's good to know. The next thing we'll kind of talk about is kind of your religious or spiritual views. Haven't really mentioned much of that. I didn't know if you had a background in any type of church or spiritual.
yeah, I was going to church with my family in Omaha, but then I don't really practice regularly anymore. When me and Christy moved to St. Joe, we didn't go to church. I don't go to church now, but I am Christian faith, but I just don't really practice.
Okay. Would you say that's something that you would want to look into, maybe to help you guide you through this experience, this difficult time, or no?
I mean, I've had an interest in religion, but I mean, maybe for like the community support stuff, like maybe if they could help me out in my current situation, it might be useful. But I've never really had that much of an interest in going to church. But I do think there could be some involvement somewhere later down the line once I get some stuff handled.
Right. Okay. So if you had to kind of lay out your current problems and kind of tell me which one you're most concerned about, and then kind of go down the list of least concern.
My first concern is making sure that my son is taken care of and provided for and has all his basic needs met. That is also my other primary concern is being able to make sure that we have a place to live. With the eviction that we're facing right now, really the only option that I have at this point is to live in my car with my son, and I know that is not a healthy option to do. Like I said, my car isn't very reliable, so I can't really get back to Omaha even if I really wanted to. So I mean, I feel like I could probably park my car somewhere out in the community, sleep in the car for a few days, but I'm really going to need to find somehow to pay my rent and find a new place to live once I'm evicted from my current housing situation. Also, with that, I wouldn't mind necessarily establishing some kind of communication back with Christine for, after all the major stuff is concerned and the housing stuff, once that's secure. I wouldn't mind maybe, digging a little deeper and working with Christine to kind of get her more involved in Luke's life, just because, like I said, he is at that age. He's 5 years old. And so I think it'd be important for him to have some sort of connection as he grows up with his mother. So, but that stuff can always be taken care of later on.
Right. Yeah. I think it would be important to, meet the needs of the current situation and keeping your son as well as yourself safe and, make sure that you're provided for on all the basic levels. Kind of the last thing I want to go over is, do you see yourself as having any certain assets or strengths that you could capitalize on during this time?
Well, like I said, I am a mechanic, so I do pride myself on being able to kind of like know the kind of working with my hand stuff. Like I'm pretty hands-on, so like really any kind of uh, physical engine stuff I can kind of get accustomed to, even if I don't know what it is that I'm working on. Like I pick up stuff like that really quick. Education's now never been really my strong suit, but like any kind of physical labor, I'm always willing to do my job and work hard to get an honest day's wage. Also, I do like spending time with my son, so I think that's something else that's keeping me through, get me through this situation is knowing that it's going to be worth it in the end to see him succeed and whatnot. And I would like to be able to be that good parent, and I would pride myself on, being able to provide for him better so than my parents were able to provide for me, and hopefully see him go to college someday. So really, those are the strengths I'm really working on right now and working to get me through these times.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely some things that we could definitely use when addressing the concerns, your current concerns. Would you say that you have any like current resources that you would be able to utilize to help you in any way?
Well, like I said, I don't keep that regularly in contact with my mom or sister, but I feel like if I were to make that call, if I needed to make the call to my mom, she'd be able to loan me a little bit of money. She, isn't that well off herself, but I know she probably can help me out, if I needed to find some other kind of options for myself and my son right now. My sister is pretty well off. Like I said, she went to college, her and her husband, so they have some money. I'd say they're probably upper middle class, but that I just really wouldn't want to ask her for money just because we don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. But as far as like resources and stuff, they probably be my first bet. Maybe any kind of community resources. That's kind of what I'm looking for from you guys today, is kind of just see if there's any options for any programs or something that I might be able to utilize to help myself.
Okay, yeah, it can be difficult to reopen connection with family, but hopefully that is something that you're able to do, whether or not you need help financially. Maybe just as a support system would be great. That is really all I have for you today. Do you have any further concerns or anything else you need to tell me about?
No, not that I can think of. I think we've hit quite a bit today.
Okay, well, then I guess I will see you back next week for our next session. Thank
All
you.
right, sounds awesome. Thank you.